I had finally drawn the line. I refused to co-sign another loan for my son-in-law, the same man who had treated my wallet like his personal cash machine for years. That was when my own daughter, the child I had carried through every hardship, looked me in the eye and said in a voice cold as steel, "Then you'd better not expect to stay here much longer." Something inside me cracked. I couldn't bear another insult, so I packed my pride and left before they had the chance to throw me out. Funny thing though, later they begged me to return. That night the clatter of dinner plates echoed as I set them carefully on the polished mahogany table. Outside, February's chill lingered over Portland, but inside the air felt stifling thick with something unspoken. Ethan sat grinning, fingers tapping at his tablet like a boy about to open a Christmas gift. "Garrett, right on time," he beamed, swiveling the glowing screen toward me. Blue charts and graphs lit the dim dining room. "I've been working on something extraordinary," he said, excitement dripping from every word. Miranda paused, balancing a bowl of mashed potatoes. "Go on, honey. Show him." I kept placing forks, my body moving on autopilot after 4 long years under their roof. From the corner of my eye I saw the photographs on the sideboard. Miranda's wedding, the kids' graduations, Thanksgiving. 12 years of milestones, but also 12 years of checks written, mortgages covered, and emergencies paid. "This is it, Garrett," Ethan declared with that familiar swagger. "My tech startup, the platform's ready. Beta's done. We just need funding, servers, office space." He angled the tablet again. Numbers flashed across the screen. $160,000 needed. Projected returns. Market analysis. My chest tightened. "You've always been there for us," Ethan said, leaning closer. "But this isn't just a loan. This is an investment in our future. And Miranda, and the kids." My hand froze midair, a fork dangling above the last place setting. The words slipped out harsher than I meant. "Ethan, I've carried this family financially for 12 years. Miranda's head snapped toward me. "Dad, this could change everything for us." "I'm tired," I said quietly, "of being treated like an ATM." The silence that followed was heavier than a thunderclap. Miranda's bowl trembled in her hands. Ethan's tablet dimmed to black. Her face flushed, pale 1 second and burning red the next. Then her voice cut through the room like a blade. "Then don't expect to stay here much longer." The fork slipped from my fingers and clattered against the hardwood. "What did you just say?" I whispered. "You heard me." She slammed the bowl onto the table, mashed potatoes spilling over the rim. "If you won't be part of this family's success, maybe you shouldn't be part of this family at all." "Miranda," Ethan tried to soothe her. "No." She yanked her arm away. "I'm done walking on eggshells. We've given him a home for 5 years. And now, when we finally need him, he turns his back on us." The room tilted. My head spun. 18 months earlier, after Vivian passed, it was Miranda who had begged me to move in. "Family takes care of family," she had said. Now, that same voice told me I was no longer welcome. "Miranda, please." My voice cracked, sounding older than my 73 years. "Save it," she snapped, heels striking the floor like gunfire as she stormed toward the kitchen. "Dinner's getting cold." I stood frozen, staring at the half-finished place setting. The fork lay on the floor, catching the chandelier's light. Ethan cleared his throat, muttered something about emails, and slipped into his office. My legs wobbled as I climbed the stairs. Each step echoed in the suffocating quiet. Below me, Miranda clattered dishes loud enough to remind me she was still furious. In my room, I closed the door and sank onto the bed. My eyes drifted to the photographs on the nightstand. Miranda, at 17, radiant. Miranda at 17, glowing in her prom dress. Miranda at 27, cradling baby Zara. Miranda last Christmas, grinning with her arms wrapped tight around Ethan. When had my support turned into an expectation? When had love turned into obligation? Out my window, the lights of Portland shimmered against the night sky. Somewhere out there, families were sitting down to normal dinners. Dinners where love was not something you had to pay for. Hours dragged by. The only sound was the muffled argument drifting up from downstairs. I could not catch their words, but the sharp edge of anger carried clearly enough. At 8:43 p.m. I finally stirred. In the corner sat the old filing cabinet that had stood beside me since Vivian's passing. I had always clung to order, a habit rooted in the military and strengthened through decades of marriage. That filing cabinet held the story of a lifetime, carefully sorted, just like I had always been. Every receipt, every check stub, every bank statement I had saved was stacked neatly in my filing cabinet. When I yanked open the bottom drawer, the metal rails squealed under the weight of years. A folder marked financial records. Miranda and Ethan sat thickest of all. My handwriting labeled it clear as day. Inside, papers slid across the desk. Bank statements, canceled checks, transfer slips. 12 years of support turned into expectation. The trail began with their wedding in May 2008. Venue, caterer, Photographer, $40,000. All signed by me. Our princess deserves a fairy tale. I had told Vivian back then. I switched on the calculator. Mortgage payments first, $40 to $200 a month, cause 12 to 4 years. 21,600. Then cars, insurance, tuition. Azara's $1,200 semester. Blake's $6,400 tech program, holiday gifts, medical bills, emergency repairs, even their Hawaii trip and Miranda's dental surgery. The total climbed like a death march. 350,000, nearly $500,000 gone. Vivian's insurance, my pension, our savings. I picked up the phone and called Columbia Trust. This is Garrett Sinclair. Cancel the transfers to account ending in 5. The agent asked for a reason. I stared at my reflection. Gray hair, tired eyes, but a firm jaw. I'm done being taken for granted. 20 minutes later it was finished. At the bottom of the folder, Miranda's power of attorney papers sat waiting. I had signed them 2 years earlier after knee surgery. Now I fed them to the shredder, watching her authority vanish in strips of paper. For the first time in months, I smiled. That night I searched online for Portland apartments, small one-bedrooms, high-rises downtown, quiet spots near bus lines. The house creaked around me, but I barely heard it. My mind was already gone. By Friday morning, sunlight poured across the hardwood of a downtown place. Diana Marsh, the realtor, waved toward the kitchen. Perfect for one person, close to Pioneer Courthouse Square and buses. I barely listened. The apartment felt right, quiet, clean. She pointed out the park across the street. Very peaceful. Residents like to read there. I'll take it, I said. She hesitated. Don't you want to see the bedroom, the bathroom? We haven't even discussed lease terms. I need peace more than square footage. I opened my checkbook and wrote the answer. The first month's rent and deposit were done. 2 hours later I pulled up to the Beaverton house. Miranda's car was gone. Her Friday shift at the cafe would not end until Ethan's sedan was missing too. Probably parked at his co-working space while he chased another big idea. The house key felt heavy as I turned it. Walking through rooms I had called home for 5 years, I decided quickly. The wedding albums and my military medals came with me. The recliner Vivian gave me at 68 stayed behind. They had grown used to it. The piano had been Vivian's pride, but Miranda claimed it after the funeral, saying Zara might play it one day. Let her keep that dream. Summit Moving showed up at noon. 3 men in a truck that barely fit in the driveway. The crew leader, young and polite, asked Mr. Sinclair, "1-bedroom move, senior discount." "Correct." I handed him my list. "Everything with blue tape goes, leave the rest." "What about the piano?" "Beautiful piece," he asked. I watched them load my desk, my books, my memories. "Leave it, it belongs to someone else." The hardest was Vivian's jewelry box. Miranda once told me I should keep it to pass on someday. Maybe I would. Maybe not. That would be my choice now. I left an envelope on the kitchen table. Inside a short note. Miranda and Ethan. I have moved out. The keys are on the counter. Financial support is canceled. You wanted independence from me, now you have it. Don't contact me until you are ready to apologize. My new address will stay private until then. Later, as I signed papers in my new apartment, the phone buzzed. Miranda's name lit the screen. "Dad, your things are gone. There's a note." "I moved out," I said. "You can't just leave. This is your home." Ethan's voice cut in. "Garrett, we can work this out. The startup, the investors. You told me not to expect to stay much longer," I said evenly. "I took your advice. I was angry. I didn't mean it. Please don't call again until you're ready to talk about respect." I powered off the phone. Through the window, Portland's nightlights glimmered. Tomorrow I would explore the neighborhood, maybe find a coffee shop or the library. Tonight, I would order pizza and enjoy it on my own, with no one expecting anything except a tip for delivery. Climbing the stairs to my apartment, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Dad, it's Ethan. We need to talk." Coming by at 7, I deleted it. Let him come. I had the papers now, and more importantly, something stronger, the freedom to finally say no. At exactly 7, the bell rang. Through the peephole, Ethan's face looked warped but recognizable. He held a bouquet of yellow roses like a cheap truce. "Garrett," he said, stepping inside uninvited. He scanned my bare apartment with thinly veiled disappointment. "Nice place. Very minimalist." I set the flowers on the counter without bothering to find a vase. "Miranda sent you. She was upset after Wednesday," he said, dropping onto my couch without asking. "You know how emotional she gets. She didn't mean it. Sit down, Ethan. I took the armchair across from him. Tell me, when's the last time you remembered my birthday without Miranda reminding you? His smile twitched. That's not really. Look, we're talking about family, about your financial support. February 14, I said flat. Valentine's Day. Hard to forget. And yet you have for 9 years in a row. Garrett, that's different. This is about the future. I moved to the kitchen window. His BMW sat in a loading zone. Hazards blinking. Last spring during my knee replacement I spent 3 days in recovery. Miranda visited once. You sent a card. Ethan bristled. What does that have to do with my business proposal? I'm offering you an investment, not charity. $160,000, I said, turning back to him. To someone who only remembers me when he wants money. That's not investment. That's delusion. His mask cracked. Fine. You want the truth? Miranda and I have been carrying this family for years. Hosting dinners. Keeping you busy after Vivian died. You owe us. My purpose now, I said evenly, is peace. Without you. He stood pacing. You can't just abandon us. We have commitments, people depending on us. Find another ATM. His voice rose. You'll regret this when you're sitting. The homeless man who fed pigeons near the sculpture garden nodded as I passed. We had built an unspoken understanding, 2 men who had chosen solitude over the tangle of family drama. You look happier these days, he said, scattering crumbs to a crowd of birds. Learning to live for myself, I answered. Smart man. Family can bleed you dry if you let them. Back at the apartment, my phone showed 14 messages. All from Miranda, each one more desperate than the last. Dad, please call. We can fix this. The bank wants $6,700 now or they'll foreclose. Ethan's trying for loans, but his credit's shot. I'm working double shifts, my feet are bleeding. The neighbors are whispering about us. You're destroying the family over money. Please, just this once. Help us catch up. I deleted them all without a second thought, then checked my accounts online. Numbers looked good. Shielded by the fortress Kenneth Wade had built, Miranda couldn't touch a cent. That evening, while I ate leftover soup in peace, the phone rang again. Zara, I answered. Grandpa, Mom collapsed at work. They say it was exhaustion. She's okay, but her voice cracked. Zara, your mother chose this road. I said evenly. I set fair boundaries. She answered with manipulation. Blake came by asking for money for rent. She went on. Mom tore into him for half an hour. Good. Maybe she's finally learning. Through the window, downtown Portland shimmered with light. Somewhere across the city, my daughter was wearing herself out trying to maintain a lifestyle built on my bank account. My son-in-law was learning that charm couldn't pay mortgages. My grandson was meeting responsibility for the first time in his life. I should have felt guilt instead. I felt free. The evening rolled on undisturbed. News at 7 Ozard. Reading until 9 Ozard. Early bed without family voices in my ear. The apartment Miranda mocked as tiny felt just right for a man who had spent 5 years shrinking himself to fit everyone else's needs. At around 10 Ozard, movement outside my window caught my attention. A small group had gathered at the entrance of my building. Ethan's silhouette was unmistakable, hands cutting through the air as he barked instructions. I stayed in the dark, counting heads. 5. Maybe more than just Miranda and Ethan this time. They moved with purpose, like they had rehearsed it. Ethan led the way, Miranda beside him, Blake dragging his feet behind. 2 older figures brought up the rear. Gerald and Patricia Novak, Ethan's parents. Zara trailed along, reluctant even from a distance. I had only seen the Novaks a handful of times in 12 years. Gerald, a retired factory man who believed hard work solved everything except his son's laziness. Patricia, skilled in the same kind of manipulation she had clearly passed down to her boy. The group slipped into the building. A minute later, fists hammered my door. Garrett, open up. We need to talk. Gerald's voice had the bark of a man used to being obeyed. I peered through the peephole. 6 faces lined up like soldiers in an intervention. Ethan held flowers again. Miranda clutched tissues. Blake sulked at the back. The Novaks flanked them like backup singers in a very off-key song. Garrett, you're destroying this family. Gerald barked again. Ethan is a good man trying to build something. I opened the door but kept myself planted firmly in the threshold. Your son used me like an ATM for 12 years. Family duty, Patricia cut in, her voice sharp. You should be helping young people get started. I did, I said flatly. What I really did was help build a pattern of dependency. I'm ending that now. The hallway felt too small with 6 adults pressing in. Ethan gestured toward my apartment. Can we come inside? This is too important for the hallway. No. Miranda stepped closer, mascara smudged, tears already in position. Dad, I know you're upset, but this has gone too far. We could lose everything. Then maybe you should have thought about that before telling me not to expect to stay much longer. I was angry. She stammered. I didn't mean. You meant it, I cut her off. All of you meant it. I was convenient when you needed money, disposable when you didn't. Gerald's face reddened. You're being selfish. At your age you ought to be thinking about legacy, about passing something to the next generation. My legacy, I said. Voice steady as teaching responsibility, not enabling failure. From the back, Blake finally piped up. Grandpa, you're being mean. You never used to be like this. Leave Grandpa alone, Zara cut in sharply. You never cared about him. Her words hit the group like a slap. She raised her voice over theirs, strong and clear. When did any of you visit him in the hospital? When did you ever remember his birthday without someone reminding you? Patricia turned on her with that sugary cruelty I'd seen before. Young lady, adults are talking. You don't understand the complexities. I understand you're bullying an old man because he won't hand you money anymore. Zara shot back. The hallway exploded with noise. Ethan demanded respect for his parents. Miranda sobbed about losing the house. Gerald thundered about family duty. Patricia whined about ungrateful children. Blake muttered about fairness. Zara alone stayed quiet after that, standing a little apart, her eyes locked on me, far older in wisdom than her years allowed. Enough. My voice cut through all of it like a blade. I gave Miranda and Ethan $390,000 over 12 years. Weddings, mortgages, emergencies, so-called opportunities. And what did I get back? Forgotten birthdays, ignored hospital stays, and endless demands for more. That's what family does. Gerald barked, sputtering. You help each other. Help flows both directions, I said coldly. What you call family was exploitation. I stepped back into my apartment. Claire and I were grilling salmon on the deck, the golden hour turning our dinner into something like a celebration. Tell me, I said, settling deeper into my deck chair, the one I'd started reserving for family calls. Mom and Dad are divorcing. She filed papers last week. She finally realized Dad's business dreams were always just dreams. Claire glanced up, raising an eyebrow, but kept seasoning vegetables with that steady, quiet competence I'd come to admire. She didn't need explanations. She understood the mess families could create. I'm sorry to hear it, Zara, but everyone has to face the consequences of their choices. Mom's working 70 hours a week between 2 jobs. Dad's back living with Grandma Patricia. His startup collapsed completely. Turns out he's awful with money. The irony wasn't lost on me. Ethan, who had once demanded I invest in his so-called brilliance, couldn't even handle the money he already had. Miranda, who told me not to expect to stay under her roof, was now learning what real independence demanded. Blake called me yesterday. Zara added. He wanted your number. My shoulders stiffened. What did he say? He's been working at Ralph's Auto for 2 months, making steady money, learning real skills. Said he wants to apologize and thank you. Claire smiled, squeezing my shoulder. She had heard the whole story of Blake storming out, and she understood why I hadn't given in. 20 minutes later, the phone rang again. Blake this time. Grandpa, I hope you don't hang up. I'm listening. I wanted to thank you, and I'm sorry for calling you mean. Ralph's teaching me engine rebuilds. I'm making enough to move into my own apartment next month. That's excellent news, Blake. Miranda's car, the same one I had helped her buy 3 years earlier, pulled into the driveway. Speaking of family, Claire murmured, following my gaze. Thanksgiving morning had found us preparing dinner for the family we had chosen. Zara drove in from Salem around 2, and an hour later Blake arrived, proudly carrying rolls he'd baked in his own apartment. The cottage filled with the scent of turkey and stuffing, wrapped in a peace that comes only when relationships are built on respect rather than obligation. Zara just texted, she's bringing pumpkin pie, Claire said, checking the turkey with the ease of someone who had hosted more holidays than she could count. Blake can't wait to show us pictures of his place, I replied, setting the table with my grandmother's china. Those dishes had survived wars, moves, and family storms. At last they were being used as they were meant to be, celebration, not sacrifice. The doorbell rang then, hard and urgent, shattering the moment. Through the peephole, Miranda's face appeared, drawn, desperate, and far older than her 46 years. She wore clothes I remembered from winters past, her posture sagging as though every option had been stripped away. Dad, please open the door, she pleaded, her voice trembling. Claire stepped quietly beside me. Months of living side by side had taught us how to navigate these moments together, with support, but without interference. I opened the door, though I stood firm in the threshold. Hello, Miranda. Dad, I lost the apartment, she blurted. The landlord evicted me last week. I'm in a motel, but I can't keep paying. Please, just one last time, help me. I only need enough for first month's rent and the deposit. $4,000. I promise I'll pay it back. Her voice carried a raw edge I had never heard before, the sound of someone realizing that pride doesn't cover rent and manipulation doesn't create stability. I'm sorry for your situation, Miranda, I said evenly, but help without responsibility won't save you. She pushed past me into the living room, her eyes roaming over the furniture, the wide windows, the lake view, every sign of the stability she once took for granted. This is what you chose over your own daughter, she spat. A nice house while I'm homeless. I chose self-respect, I answered, over feeding destructive patterns. Claire stepped forward, calm and steady. Miranda, your father has been helping for 12 years. Maybe it's time you helped yourself. Who are you to judge our family? Miranda snapped, her voice rising with the same sharpness that used to silence me. I'm someone who had to learn independence after my husband died, Claire replied firmly. It's called character, and your father is teaching you the same lesson. Dad, this is cruel, Miranda cried. Mom would never approve of you treating me this way. The mention of Vivian struck hard, but I had braced for it. Your mother would want you strong on your own 2 feet. She would be heartbroken to see what dependency has done to you. Miranda broke then, her tears unguarded and I don't know how to do this alone. I never had to. You're 46, I said gently but firmly. It's time to learn. She left soon after. Out in the driveway she passed Sarah, who had just arrived with pumpkin pie in hand. They barely acknowledged one another. Inside, Zara gave me a knowing look. Mom asked me to convince you to help her, she said, setting the pie down. And what did you tell her? That you've already done more than enough and maybe losing everything is the only way she'll learn what working people already know. An hour later Blake came in carrying warm rolls and photos of his 1-bedroom apartment. His face glowed with a pride I had never seen before, the pride of earning, of standing on his own. Grandpa, I saw Mom leaving as I drove up, he said quietly. She looked up. Your mother is finally learning hard lessons about responsibility, I told him. Good, Claire said firmly. Real love sometimes means letting people face the consequences. 4 people who had chosen to build relationships on respect, not transactions. The turkey came out golden and perfect. Conversation flowed easily. Gratitude filled the air, real and unforced. My phone rang during dessert. Miranda's name lit the screen. I looked at it, then at the 3 faces around my table. People who valued me for being present, not for what I could provide. People who gave as much as they received. I silenced the phone and set it aside. More pie anyway. Outside, a Sego lake reflected the last light of sunset, perfectly still. Inside I sat surrounded by my chosen family, one built on respect, independence, and love that sustained instead of drained. The silence wasn't empty anymore, it was whole.